nitawakalia ngumu.
The drums keep beating.
I want to reiterate once again here.
As the direction of the wind changes.
Azimio is not interested in handshake.
And we keep playing. Games aside, what's in from Mwananchi? We keep this conversation flowing so you are up to date, knowledgeable, and fully aware of your political and socio-economic environment. Do not be left in the dark. Join me, Esther Nyonje, every Monday and Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. to dissect and analyze the same, here where knowledge meets logic. The temperatures are rising by day.
Hawa nitawakalia ngumu.
The drums keep beating.
I want to reiterate once again here.
As the direction of the wind changes.
Azimio is not interested in handshake.
And we keep playing. Games aside, what's in from Mwananchi? We keep this conversation flowing so you are up to date, knowledgeable, and fully aware of your Hello. It's a nice evening here in Nairobi, Kenya, East African time, 1951. And you're joined here. This is Kenya Explained, first ever live. We're welcome to see you here. I'm happy to see you here. Be sure to share this live so that other people can get the live, and you will find the recording also on the YouTube page. That is Esther Nyonje, and I am your host, Esther Nyonje, of course. And today we are here, as we said, the temperatures are rising left, right, and center, and we are here to talk about it all. We were supposed to be joined by Javas Bigambo, but he sent his apologies. He'll be here next time. But I'm honored to be joined by Vihiga Senator, where I happened to come from the same county. His name is Honorable Godfrey Osotsi. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Esther, for this invitation. And I also want to greet all the viewers who are viewing me today and say good evening to them.
Well, now be sure to interact with me, chat publicly. I'll be able to read your comments and reply your concerns and anything that you would want to be addressed. And I'm surprised not to see you in Eldoret. I thought I would miss you this time because you would head to Eldoret, to Uasin Gishu County.
Well, you are aware that the Devolution Conference is starting tomorrow.
Yes.
But I will not be going there because I believe Devolution Conference should have clear outcomes of what they want to achieve. And for me, Devolution now, this is the 8th edition of the Devolution Conference. And we are now 10 years into devolution.
Yes.
Whereas I want to appreciate that devolution is the best thing that happened to this country. But on the other hand, there are rough edges that we need to deal with. Unfortunately, it's taking too long to deal with those rough edges.
What are those rough edges? What do you mean by the rough edges?
There are a lot of rough edges. One is corruption. We have money that is being taken to counties. From the Auditor General's report, we see a lot of irregularities. We see a lot of misuse of funds. We see a lot of unexplained expenditure. And that is worrying because devolution was meant to ensure that all parts of the country receive development. And when we see a situation where the funds are not utilized well, then we begin to get concern, especially now it's 10 years into devolution. I think a lot needs to be done. So my expectation was that this particular conference will focus a lot more on aspects of accountability, transparency, and proper utilization of public funds that are taken to the counties. I am the chairperson of one of the two major oversight committees in the Senate. I am the chair of Public Investment and Special Funds Committee. And we see a lot of irregularities highlighted in the Auditor General's report. So I was surprised that on the program of activities, there was no special mention of topics related to accountability. And being the chair of a key important money committee in the Senate, I thought that it is a bit misplaced not to discuss issues of accountability. Number two, we have had 8 conferences so far, but I don't think the participants have had an opportunity to try and assess the recommendations that have come from those devolution conferences. Because if those recommendations were followed to the letter or implemented, maybe we would be having a different picture altogether. It was 8 meetings with nothing much coming out of it. It begs a lot of concerns. And the other reason is that the devolution conference has been turned into a talk show, a party scenario, and one would expect that devolution conference should be an avenue, an arena to address issues that are derailing devolution. And there are many issues. One is the transfer of functions. Esther, as we talk now, the health function, which is supposed to be fully devolved, is not yet fully devolved. A lot of...
yes, the health ministry is being allocated money from the National Treasury.
You know, health ministry is supposed to deal with health policy. But you see, they are dealing with the issues beyond the health policy. A large fraction of the budget is retained in Nairobi, and the counties have a little share of the budget, and they are expected to deliver. They're supposed to pay salaries. They're supposed to provide all these services. So that is a concern, and it's been there for 8 devolution sessions. What has been done? Number 2, the agriculture function is also supposed to be fully devolved. But what is happening? You see a lot of funds being retained at the national level with the Ministry of Agriculture. Water is also supposed to be a devolved function. But you see a lot of interference from the national government, a lot of budget being retained in Nairobi. So there is the bigger issue of transfer of function, which has not been addressed with the attention that it deserves. The other aspect is we are beginning to see signs of drawbacks to devolution, mainly by the national government. You have seen the national government trying to quietly take over some of the functions that are supposed to be devolved. For example, the issue of the primary health care, which is supposed to be a devolved function. You see, the other day, they were saying that they want to take over the management of community health workers. That is a function that is devolved. And if they really want to invest in it, they know what they need to do. They need maybe to give funds to those counties, what we call conditional grants, so that they can run those services. But a situation where national government is directly funding becomes a problem. You hear about the proposal for industrial park, where they are telling counties, give us 250 million and we give you 250 million, which industrial park are you going to create for 500 million shillings?
Now that you've
They
mentioned...
need to give that money to the counties as conditional grants. That way we will know that we are moving forward. There is the issue of management of forest and many other issues. So really, there is a lot of drawback, a lot of attempts to claw back the progress we have made in devolution, the gains that this country has achieved. And because of that, I do not think it was necessary for me to be in that conference. And lastly, we are also concerned about interference into the work of Senate. Senate
Interference
is...
by who?
By the Kenya Kwanza government. Senate is supposed to be
That is the
a
executive.
parliament that protects devolution, protects counties, protects the interests of county government. But you see, when we were given an opportunity to increase the shareable revenue from 370 billion that was given last year to 407 billion, that was going to be an increase of around 27 billion. My county was going to get an additional 500 million. The Kenya Kwanza senators voted against the increase because of phone calls they got from State House, and that is very worrying, that Senate is now being interfered by the Kenya Kwanza regime. And that is one of the drawbacks to the gains of devolution, which I'm talking about.
And
so really,
yes.
even for me as a senator, I have no message to give to the devolution conference,
But
because
if you do not
if the
attend...
Senate where I sit can refuse to go for more money and go for less money, then what are we going to say in the devolution conference?
If you do not attend the conference that is being held there, then how are you going to air your grievances? And
I will still air my grievances on the floor of Senate, and I've been doing that. I do not have to go to an environment where we have 5,000 people to talk about that. It will not make sense. We will continue as Azimio senators to push our agenda on the floor of Senate. We know we have a challenge with numbers, but it's better to talk about these things. We talk about these things on the floor of Senate, and we talk about these things in an environment like this one that you offered me.
And now, at this point, really what happens on the ground of administration right now depends on who you are asking. If you ask a Kenya Kwanza supporter anything about devolution, they will support it. And if you ask someone who is in the opposition, they will go against it. So it really begs a question to the people on the ground like me. We wonder what is happening, because you seem like you are lamenting.
Let me tell you, Esther, you live in this country, and you were there when people were voting in the Senate. And you saw those who rejected more money and those who voted for more money. If you reject more money to your county because the president has told you to do that because of party affiliation, then you are not doing your role as a senator. Because the primary role of a senator is to lobby for more money through shareable revenue to his or her county. And now, I voted for more money to my county. There are people, senators on the other side, who voted against an increase. And now this, we have talked about it. It is not propaganda, it is facts. The Hansard is there. The information was documented very well in the media, and Kenyans know the truth.
You also mean to say that pending functions have not been actualized by the Kenya Kwanza administration?
Remember, in their manifesto,
yes,
they said that they were going to ensure that all functions were going to be transferred to the counties within 3 months. 3 months passed. The IGRTC, which stands for Intergovernmental Technical committee also made an announcement that 6 months they were going to ensure that all the services, all the functions, devolved functions, were transferred to the counties. We are now in the 5th month. Nothing seems to be going on. So, and all these are statements coming from the Kenya Kwanza regime, and nothing is being done about it. And it is important as a senator who is responsible for his people of Vihiga County to talk about it.
So, Senator Osotsi, do you mean to say that devolution is not working for Kenya? Or how would you describe the exact state of devolution in the country as it's
Remember when I started, I said devolution is the best thing that happened in Kenya, but there are rough edges. And I quickly followed up and say, but it's taking time to deal with those rough edges.
Because it's systemic.
It is now 10 years. Something has to be done about it. We cannot be saying we are celebrating devolution conference every year and we don't seem to be addressing the real issues that affect devolution. And that's why I said I am not going to attend that conference because to me it is not adding any value unless the resolutions of the past conferences, which are now 8 conferences, are addressed. And if they are addressed, I am very confident that we will be maybe in a better position as far as devolution is concerned. And
when you talked about corruption being a challenge facing devolution, each county has a head representative. So does it mean that when the country had the other level of the government, that is devolution, that corruption also devolved from the national government to the county government? Because why would you blame the Kenya Kwanza administration over corruption, yet each county has its own representative or the head?
Well, I didn't say I'm blaming Kenya Kwanza for corruption. The blame I'm putting on Kenya Kwanza is interference in devolution process, drawbacks to the gains of devolution. But corruption in the counties is a matter that we need to address. We know we have the county assemblies, which are supposed to oversight the county executive, and we have Senate, which are supposed to oversight the counties as well. My concern is that I think a lot needs to be done to improve the capacities and the strength of county assemblies to oversight county executives. And up there, the national level, I think Senate needs to play a much more enhanced role to ensure that there is enhanced oversight in the counties. As I said earlier, I am the chair of the County Public Investment and Special Funds Committee, and we have been dealing for the last 10 months. We've been dealing with audit reports for water companies in counties, and I can tell you, as a result of our oversight, there is a huge improvement in the way water companies are now being run. We are now demanding adherence to the law. We are demanding for accountability. And I think because of our intervention, very soon you begin to see better managed water companies in the counties. And this is the kind of oversight we are saying, that if we had Senate in all its functions, working hard on the matter of oversight, we'll begin to see a reduction in the levels of corruption in the counties. Very well. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, keep tuning to this live session. Send your comments about this topic. We're talking about devolution. What do you think is the state of devolution in the country? Should we do away with devolution, or should we get ahead with devolution? And moving on, it is the 14th of August, and at a time like this last year, we were waiting for the president to be announced, and the president was announced as William Ruto. Now, as an Azimio supporter and a senator who was elected under the ODM coalition, the ODM ticket under the Azimio coalition,
Are you now fully satisfied that the Kenya Kwanza regime is a legitimate government?
Well, we still have legitimacy challenges around this leadership. And I think, they're really struggling to try and legitimize their rule. Because for instance, that even if we went with the figures announced by the IBC without questioning them, the difference was only 200,000.
But they won.
No,
they won the elections.
Let me tell you, listen, when we talk about legitimacy, we also need to look at the numbers as well. If we say that we want to believe the figures that were announced by IBC, we are talking about 200,000. 200,000 people, it basically means the country is half-half. So they cannot say they have desirable level of legitimacy because half of the country is not with them. And I want to tell you, Esther, today that the situation has changed. The numbers on the Azimio side have not really gone down. In fact, the numbers have increased because of the challenges we have with cost of living and other things that this regime promised and they didn't deliver. So the legitimacy issue is still hanging on them. And you can see some of their recent action say that. And number two, when we asked Kenyans to do signatures, to mechoka.com, we now have over 8.5 million signatures have been collected. And these are voters, registered voters. They were supposed to put their ID, their polling station, their ward, and county and all that. That tells you something, that if 8.5% people, million people have signed online, that is a very serious legitimacy issue which must make them get worried.
But what were you going to do with those signatures?
That is our secret. I don't want to reveal it here, but I can tell you that if you have 8.5 million people who have signed that online portal, then if you are the government, you must be worried.
All right.
Never mind about what we are going to do with the list. I can tell you we have a better strategy on how we are going to use that list.
All right. And now you look at what is your general feeling about the trajectory of the country under Kenya Kwanza's administration, 10 months down?
I can only tell you in one word.
And what is the position of your coalition?
I can tell you in one word, disappointing. Because they promised many things. They promised many things. Remember, their campaign was around bottom-up economic model.
Yes.
Bottom-up economic model has turned out to be a top-down model because the low-income earners, the Kenya there below the pyramid, are suffering. Cost of living has gone up, and even with the cost of living, they are overtaxing the same people. Same people in that tax bracket are being overtaxed. And in addition to that, there is no clear program on how to deal with the issue of cost of living. There's a lot of sentiments that have been made about how to address cost of living, but all those strategies have failed. Remember, one of the strategies was that they were going to import cereals, import edible oil, so that they pull down the cost of essential food items. But what happened? They ended up giving those contracts to politically connected people within Kenya Kwanza regime, and at exorbitant prices. The matter is already in parliament, where even some key people in government have been mentioned to have been involved in that corruption through Kenya National Trading Corporation. That has failed. They talked about the fertilizer. There is a lot of disclosure that needs to be given about this fertilizer, because this fertilizer they are distributing around was given by the Russian government as a donation. Why would then turn around the donation and say you have lowered the price of fertilizer to 2,500? What if that fertilizer now the stock get finished?
How can you
You go back
substantiate
to the
that
old.
the fertilizer was from a donation from Russia?
It is clear. You have seen even the Russian presidents talk about it. The clips are there. You have seen even media articles about the fertilizer given by the Russian government. It is there. And that's why they have never come to tell Kenyans a different story. The matter is also in Parliament about how much donation they received in terms of fertilizer from the Russian government and at what cost. They have not been able to answer that. They came up with a deal to import a petroleum product from an arrangement between the government of Kenya and the government of Saudi Arabia to bring in a petroleum product. And the strategy was to try and reduce the dollar, which was going up.
Yes.
But that has not helped. The dollar is still going up and up.
It's now at 150.
Yes, it's now at 150. Now, which are these companies that were given contracts to import these oil products? Who benefited? The information is very scanty. They also told us about an arrangement where they were going to grow maize in Zambia. You heard about that, Esther? That the Minister of Agriculture had leased land in Zambia to grow maize. That was about 4 months ago. Where is that maize? Where is that maize? They also told us about they were going to now take over Galana Kulalu in Tana River to grow maize, and they will put money into it. Where is that maize? And so we are seeing a lot of knick-jack reaction, which are end up being avenues for corruption to benefit people who are politically connected in this regime. So there is no tangible measures put in place to address the cost of living. And that's why Azimio is saying, let cost of living be an issue for dialogue. Because we have ideas on how we can address this issue of cost of living.
Why didn't you bring those ideas and table them in Parliament? Because when we had that, Kenya Kwanza, Azimio as the opposition should have an alternative and give it to Kenyans.
Let me tell you, one of the issues that we are presenting for dialogue is the issue of capture of parliament. Capture, parliamentary capture.
Under what point is that in the Azimio?
You saw what happened. You saw what happened with the finance bill. Mm-hmm. People were coerced, people were bribed, people, all manner of things, to vote for a finance bill that was going to put more burden on Kenyans. And these are leaders. Some of them knew what they were doing is wrong, but because they have received the soup, the way Osoro said, or they have been intimidated, they voted for a bill which was going to overburden Kenyans. That is the parliament we have. So when we talk about parliament, and Azimio has tried to bring these things in parliament, but because the other side, they are able to manipulate members of parliament, they end up having numbers. So even what is good is not passed. And that is why we said, if parliament is not working for Kenyans, then we can invoke Article 1 of the Constitution, which says the sovereign powers is held by the people of Kenya. And those powers can be exercised directly by the people or indirectly through representatives. So the representatives who are acting on behalf of Kenyans, if they are not doing the right job, then Kenyans can exercise their powers, their sovereign powers, directly.
And as we come to the end of this conversation, Senator Osotsi, you have displayed lack of confidence number of times, lack of confidence in the bipartisan talks and in the new team that is heading for dialogue to address your issues. Now, you haven't even given time for this to go and see and let it see where it's going to reach, but already we have hardliners, we have conversations from the side, and it already feels like it's dead on arrival. So how are you going to achieve your working coherently with the government as the opposition regarding in limits with the Constitution and respecting that this is the government of the day that was voted in by a democratic country?
Let me tell you, I said this morning on Citizen TV that Azimio, we are very much committed to these talks. And one of the reasons why we went to the streets to peacefully demonstrate was because there was no opportunity for dialogue. Remember, the other side said, no, we cannot talk with losers. We cannot engage in any discussion because this is going to lead into a handshake. And we cried for the talks. We gave them time to engage. When they were not engaging, we went to the people and asked people, what do we need to do? And the people said, no, it is now time to go to the streets. And we went to the streets. When they came and said, now we can talk.
There's also no solution in the streets.
No, I'll tell you, the streets has worked for this country before. You are. I don't know how old you are when this country was fighting for multipartyism, but when this country was fighting for.
But what is the ripple effect of
the constitutionalism? Mm-hmm. So what I was trying to say is that we engaged them initially. You remember the bipartisan team, the parliamentary bipartisan team. And that process collapsed. It collapsed because the other side clearly demonstrated that they were not willing. They were simply wasting our time. They were trying to slow us down in what we were doing. And we got to a point and said, no, we are not going to continue like this. Now, even this current initiative, it is them who initiated the process. Remember, initially, the president of Tanzania came, Suluhu, at the invitation of Rutos, and they were to have a meeting in Mount Kenya. Raila appeared, Rutos never appeared. And yet, he's the one who had invited Suluhu. Then after Suluhu, Obasanjo came. He's the one who invited Obasanjo. Mm-hmm. Raila went, and they agreed to start the process. After that, you heard what the president was saying in rallies. He said, there is no Sumukati, there is what, and you saw what they said. They said, we don't want talks, you should go to Kasarani, you should go to Nyayo Stadium, we want it public. That kind of contempt. But nevertheless, Azimio is saying, we are ready to engage. Look at the people we have selected to sit on that committee. People of impeccable character, people who have strong reputation, not just here in Kenya, but globally. But on the other side, you can see signs of contempt. With the quality of people they are brought on board. If you have the chairperson of the other side, is Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. Kimani Ichung'wah has been all over talking against bipartisan talks. And then he's now the one who is supposed to lead the team, to engage our team. Look at our chairperson. Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka has been vice president. He's an international statesman. He's a man who has participated in peace processes in Africa. I mean, they should even have considered giving us someone better, someone who can be on the same level as Kalonzo Musyoka.
From the way you talk, you sound like this is dead on arrival. That's why I asked, do you have confidence in these talks?
We are giving, you know, I have explained the kind of contempt on the other side. But nevertheless, as a commitment that we are ready to engage. Azimio is there, waiting to engage, has issues. We have our issues, they have their issues. We are telling them, please, we respect your issues. And they should also respect our list of issues. And then we engage. We get somewhere and have a compromise. Say, these are your issues, these are my issues, let's agree, this is the way forward. But if we have a contempt, you are saying we cannot discuss cost of living. that leave it to us. No, we can't leave it to them because we are seeing our people are suffering. We are leaders. We may be in the opposition, but we are leaders. Our people are suffering. It is an issue that we need to discuss. So they need to respect our issues, and we respect their issues. They have listed down, they want leader of opposition, they want a prime cabinet secretary to be put in the constitution. And remember, they told us during the campaigns they will never amend the constitution. They told us they are not about positions. They are not going to create positions. But in their issues, they are talking about positions, and us, we are talking about cost of living, we are talking about taxation. So the difference is that Azimio is bringing forth people's issues, and them they are bringing forth issues to empower some people within their ranks.
So 2 final questions before we close up. Number 1, what's your comment about your party leader and the opposition leader Raila Odinga looking for sympathy from the international community? And number 2 is that supposing these talks go on well, then what position are you going to be in? Are you still going to say that Kenya Kwanza? Are you still going to find loopholes in the Kenya government, or you're going to find a coherent way to work with the government? Because that is the purpose of the whole talk.
I don't know what you mean by saying Raila is looking for sympathy. I have not seen him looking for sympathy. I have just explained that even the international engagement that is ongoing, it is at the initiation of Ruto, not Raila. Suluhu came here at the invitation of Ruto. Obasanjo came here at the invitation of...
And also Senator Kun met Raila Odinga yesterday.
Senator Kun has been a friend of Kenya. He has so many friends in the political space in this country. So him meeting Raila is not a big issue. But again, he, such a high-ranking U.S. official, cannot be in the country without invitation.
And if you remember, he brokered a deal with Uhuru Kenyatta for the handshake.
That was then. Times have changed. So I do not think that you are right to say Raila is looking for sympathy. Raila does not need anyone's sympathy. Raila has half of the country with him. And I think that's the most important thing for any government that wants to function. You must understand that the leader of opposition is strong. The leader of opposition is carrying half the population with him. And that is where the issue of legitimacy comes in. So if Ruto wants legitimacy, he must deal with the problems that Azimio is putting on the table.
That brings me to the second question. So to just summarize is what is the end goal of these talks?
Well, you see, let me tell you one thing. If you look at the history of people within Azimio, they have been people who have brought change in this country. Raila Odinga has been a part and parcel of change in this country. He was a force that brought multi-party into this country. If you are there, I know you were born in mid-90s, but if you are there in early 90s, the conversation that was in this country about having multi-party was a very intense conversation. There was a lot of pressure on the then sitting KANU government. There were a lot of demonstration. That's why we have Sabasaba. And Raila played a big role. And we ended up having multi-party, amended the constitution to allow for multi-partyism. Raila played a big role in bringing forth this constitution that everyone is proud about. Raila has played a big role in infrastructure development in this country. The modern roads that you see were all designed under Raila as a minister for roads. So this is a man who has contributed immensely to the growth of Kenyan society. And even in this, I am sure if the other side is serious with these talks, the end result will not be about Raila Odinga. It will be about the well-being of Kenyans. And one of the issues on the table is the cost of living. How do we address the issue of cost of living? What are the permanent solutions to it? Not just the knee-jerk reaction by the current regime. We want permanent solution to address the issue of cost of living. Exactly. People are sleeping hungry in these homes.
And we also want permanent solution to address what happens after every election year.
That is why we are talking about electoral justice. Can we look at our laws, our election laws, so that we can fix the gaps, so that we can make elections credible? Those are issues that will end up benefiting a common wananchi, because now people will spend less time talking about election results and they will focus on productive issues. Right. But we cannot ignore those things, and they will come and haunt us in future.
All right. That is a very nice way to end the show, that at the end of these talks, we hope that it is not about Raila Odinga or Kenya Kwanza or personalities and parties, but it's about the common mwananchi to provide permanent solutions to what we are facing in Kenya. Thank you so much for this exclusive, Senator Osotsi. We hope to see you again here with another panel that can counter you with your sentiments also. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. You can always watch this live recording. And until next time, see you. The temperatures are rising by day.
Hawa nitawakalia ngumu.
The drums keep beating.
I want to reiterate once again here.
As the direction of the wind changes.
Azimio is not interested in handshake.
And we keep playing. Games aside, what's in for Mwananchi? We keep this conversation flowing so you are up to date, knowledgeable, and fully aware of your political and socio-economic environment. Do not be left in the dark. Join me, Esther Nyonje, every Monday and Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. to dissect and analyze the same, here where knowledge meets logic. The temperatures are rising by day.
Hawa nitawakalia ngumu.
The drums keep beating.
I want to reiterate once again here.
As the direction of the wind changes.
Azimio is not interested in handshake.
And we keep playing. Games aside, what's in for Mwananchi? We keep this conversation flowing so you are up to date, knowledgeable, and fully aware of your political and socio-economic environment. Do not be left in the dark.